Have you ever been given a piece of genuinely helpful advice, but because of the demanding tone it was delivered in, your brain's immediate, uncontrollable urge was to do the exact opposite? Most people look at that instant pushback and write it off as immaturity. They call it being unnecessarily difficult, or label them as hopelessly stubborn. Psychology classifies this instant pushback as a highly evolved defense mechanism, and it operates with predictable precision in individuals who share a very specific set of rare cognitive traits. To understand why this response is so overpowering, we have to slow down time. We need to observe the exact microsequence of events that fire off in the brain the exact millisecond an order is received. This timeline tracks the internal psychological reaction, starting the instant a directive is heard. People who dislike being told what to do are highly sensitive to control. Before words are processed for meaning, the brain scans incoming data for power dynamics, checking for manipulation. A direct, blunt command registers immediately as a breach of a psychological boundary. It is a rapid alert that personal agency is under attack. This triggers what psychologists call psychological reactance. It is an automatic emergency response system designed specifically to handle a perceived restriction of freedom. Consciously, this manifests as a sudden, involuntary mental reflex. Someone says, "You have to do this," and the mind instantly fires back with, "Well, now I don't want to." The brain isn't trying to be malicious here. It is simply acting to restore the individual's baseline sense of personal liberty. That initial wall of resistance exists entirely to neutralize an incoming threat to freedom. It operates completely independently of whatever task is actually being requested. Once that initial threat is handled, the reaction timeline moves from the subconscious reflexes into the brain's higher-level conscious processing centers. This central decision engine illustrates where autonomy takes over. Humans inherently need to feel in control, but for these individuals, that need is heavily amplified. A direct order tries forcefully bypassing the self-direction filter. In response, the decision engine aggressively rejects the external input. This is a direct byproduct of independent thinking. The mind refuses to engage in blind obedience, actively shutting down external commands so it can run its own analysis. To process the request, this mind takes mandatory steps. It breaks the command down, asks internal questions, and evaluates the data, all on its own terms. This intensive processing takes time, and to the person who gave the order, that required analytical delay looks exactly like deliberate resistance. What observers mistake for outright defiance is really the brain's strict refusal to accept any conclusion or action that it hasn't verified independently. The entire reaction timeline concludes at a specific point, the requirement for total ownership over the final result. For a self-directed mind, the value of an accomplishment is tied directly to the choices that led there. If a success is achieved simply by following someone else's script, the victory feels hollow and unearned. These individuals need to claim the original choice as their own. It is only when they are responsible for the decision that the eventual achievement carries weight. What begins as threat detection and cognitive override ultimately forms the architecture of a self-directed mind. To successfully communicate with this type of mind, you have to drop the blunt commands. Instead, provide the context, offer options, and let them retain the freedom to choose. Decoding these mental mechanics changes how we view seemingly difficult human behavior. If you enjoy learning the real psychology behind human behavior without fake motivation or empty advice, make sure you subscribe to this channel.